The phone rang at 2:47 a.m. At that hour, silence feels heavier, thicker, like the world itself is holding its breath. I knew before touching the phone that nothing good waits on the other side of a call that late. My hand shook as I reached for it in the dark. "Grandma." The voice was barely holding together. My grandson, Ethan, the only one who still called me that without hesitation, without obligation. "I'm at the police station." My heart dropped. "What happened, my boy?" I asked, already sitting up, already awake in a way sleep can never recover from. "She hit me," he whispered, "with a metal candle stand. My eyebrow is bleeding, but she's telling them I attacked her, and Dad believes her." For a second, the world stopped making sense. "Where are you?" I asked, forcing calm into my voice while my chest burned. "Greenwich Village Precinct," he said. "They said if no adult comes, they'll move me to juvenile holding." "Listen to me carefully," I said, already pulling on my clothes. "Do not say another word to anyone. I'm coming." When the call ended, I stood alone in my bedroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror. A 68-year-old woman, gray hair wild, eyes tired, but behind them, something stirred. I wasn't always just a grandmother. For 35 years, I worked criminal investigations. I interrogated liars. I dismantled stories built on fear. I retired 8 years ago, but retirement never erases instinct. I dressed fast, black slacks, flat boots, a neutral sweater. Then, without thinking, I opened the drawer. My old badge lay there, expired, useless, symbolic. I slipped it into my pocket anyway. Outside, the city was eerily quiet. A taxi screeched to a stop. "Greenwich Village Precinct," I told the driver. "Please hurry." As the car sped through empty streets, memories flooded in. My son, Robert, once kind, once honest, a widower now, broken after losing Ethan's mother, and his new wife, Chelsea. Too polished, too sweet, too strategic. 5 years was all it took for her to turn my son into someone who barely returned my calls, and a home into a place my grandson feared. The taxi stopped. The police lights glowed harsh and unforgiving. As I stepped inside, my anger replaced fear. Because whoever hurt my grandson had forgotten something very important. They weren't dealing with a helpless old woman. They were about to wake someone I thought I'd left behind. And this story? It had only just begun. What happened inside that police station would expose a lie so dangerous, tear a family apart, and awaken a war no one saw coming. The police station smelled the same as it always had: old coffee, metal, and tension. Some things never change. The young officer at the front desk barely looked up when I approached. "Can I help you?" "I'm here for Ethan Stone, my grandson." His fingers paused over the keyboard. "Oh, the domestic incident." He glanced up, then froze slightly when he read my name. "Stone. Wait." I didn't say a word. I simply reached into my pocket and placed my expired badge on the counter. The color drained from his face. I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't realize." "Take me to him," I said calmly, the kind of calm that doesn't invite debate. He stood immediately and gestured down the hallway. As we walked, the familiar corridors stirred memories I had buried: interrogations, confessions, long nights chasing truth. I had walked these halls for decades. I had never imagined I'd return for my own family. The waiting room lights were harsh and unforgiving. And there he was. Ethan sat on a plastic chair, shoulders curled inward, a rough bandage taped over his eyebrow. Dried blood marked the edge. His eyes were swollen red, as if he'd cried until there was nothing left. When he saw me, he stood up so fast the chair screeched. "Grandma!" He wrapped his arms around my waist like he used to when he was little. His body trembled. "I'm here," I whispered, holding him tightly. But my eyes were already searching the room. My son stood near the wall, arms crossed, jaw clenched, avoiding my gaze. And beside him sat Chelsea. Perfect posture, perfect hair, a faint bruise on her arm, carefully placed. Tears pooled in her eyes but never fell. A performance. I'd seen that look too many times before. The calculated vulnerability of someone who knows exactly how to play the victim. "You didn't need to come," my son muttered without looking at me. Those 5 words hurt more than any slap. Before I could respond, a door opened. "Commander Stone." I turned. Captain Charles Spencer stood there, older now, but unmistakable. He had once worked under me. His expression shifted from surprise to concern. "Charles," I said evenly, "explain why my grandson is bleeding." Inside his office, Ethan sat beside me, hands shaking in his lap. Chelsea's story came first. According to her, Ethan came home late, became aggressive, pushed her, attacked her. She showed bruises. My son confirmed her version. Then came Ethan's. "She waited in the dark," he said quietly. "She grabbed me, hit me with a metal candle holder. I fell. She hurt herself after." The cameras at the house? Broken. The object? Missing. Too clean, too convenient. I leaned forward. "Charles," I said softly, "you know me. Would I defend a lie?" He didn't answer immediately. That silence told me everything. Ethan wasn't going to jail that night, but justice was still very far away, and the woman sitting outside knew it. What Ethan would confess next would reveal months of silent abuse and expose a truth so dark it would force me to choose between my son and saving my grandson. When Captain Spencer stepped out to prepare the release papers, the room fell silent. Just Ethan and me. The ticking wall clock sounded louder than it should have. Every second felt like pressure building in my chest. "How long?" I asked quietly. Ethan didn't look up. His fingers twisted together until his knuckles turned white. "Since 6 months ago." The words hit harder than I expected. "Tell me everything," I said. "No protecting anyone. Not anymore." His voice trembled as he began. "It started small," he said. "She'd insult me when Dad wasn't around, called me useless, said I was just like my mom, weak." His throat tightened. "Then she started breaking my things, said it was accidents." I closed my eyes for a moment. "She smashed my game console, tore my notebooks, even broke the soccer trophy you gave me. Dad believed her every time." My heart ached with every word. "And then she started hitting me," he whispered. "Slaps, shoves. Once she locked me in the basement all afternoon because I said I wanted to visit you." I felt something inside me fracture. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, fighting the break in my own voice. "Because she told Dad you were poisoning me against them," Ethan said. "She said if I told you, Dad would send me away, and I believed her." He finally looked at me. "I didn't want to lose you, too." Tears blurred my vision, but I didn't let them fall. "And that night," he continued, "I realized she was planning something worse." "What do you mean?" I asked, fighting the break in my own voice. "She heard her on the phone a week ago," he said. "When you die, Dad would inherit your apartment, that they'd sell it and move away, and I'd be sent to a military boarding school." My breath caught. She said it like it was already decided, like we were just obstacles. The pieces snapped together in my mind. This wasn't rage, it was strategy. "And the candle holder?" he asked. I asked. "She hid it before Dad came downstairs," he said. "I saw her wipe it clean." Captain Spencer returned then, paperwork in hand. "Ethan will be released into your custody," he said gently. "Investigation continues." But I already knew. The system would move slowly. Chelsea wouldn't.
As we walked out of the station together, dawn creeping into the sky, Ethan looked up at me. "What are we going to do, Grandma?" I squeezed his hand. "We're going to prove the truth," I said, "and the woman who hurt you is going to regret thinking we were powerless." Because Chelsea had made one fatal mistake. She thought silence meant weakness. What Ethan revealed next morning would expose a hidden past of deaths, disappearances, and prove that my grandson and I were not her first victims. By the time we reached my apartment, the sky was just beginning to pale. Ethan moved like someone twice his age, slow, exhausted, carrying more than a teenager ever should. I made him sit on the couch, handed him warm milk, and cleaned the dried blood near his eyebrow. Only when he finally
He nodded. At exactly 3 p.m., we sat in Linda's car a block away from my son's house. My phone screen glowed, showing everything Ethan saw. The door opened. Chelsea stood there, arms crossed. "Well, look who crawled back," she sneered. "Did Grandma finally get tired of you?" Ethan swallowed. "I just need my clothes." She laughed. "Ha ha, sure, be quick." Inside, his room was destroyed. Clothes on the floor, posters torn, a photo of him and his mother shattered under a shoe print. I felt tears sting my eyes, weeping, silent and angry. Then, there, in the drawer, the silver candle holder, blood still dark at the base. My breath caught. "Don't touch it," I whispered, even though he couldn't hear me. Chelsea appeared behind him. "Done yet?" she snapped. Ethan turned calmly. "Almost." As he passed her, she leaned close. "You know," she said softly, "boys like you always end up forgotten." The words cut deep. But they were recorded, every single one. When Ethan walked back into the car, he collapsed into my arms. His body shook. "I did it," he whispered. "I did it." I held him tight, tears finally falling. Chelsea had just made her second fatal mistake. What Chelsea would say next, believing no one was listening, would shatter my son's loyalty and expose a confession she could never erase. That evening, my phone buzzed. Chelsea was calling. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because predators always believe they're in control right before they fall. I answered and put the call on speaker. Linda and Ethan sat beside me, silent. "Elena," Chelsea said sweetly, too sweet, "we need to talk." "About what?" I replied calmly. "About your influence," she sighed dramatically. "You're confusing Ethan, filling his head with nonsense." I said nothing. Silence is a dangerous thing. People rush to fill it. "I mean," she continued, "boys like him exaggerate, they imagine things. You know how emotional teenagers are." Ethan's fists clenched. I spoke gently. "Are you saying you didn't hit him?" A pause. Then she laughed. "Ha ha, oh please, one little smack and suddenly I'm a monster?" Linda's eyes widened. "One little smack?" I repeated. "Well," Chelsea said casually, "discipline matters. If I hadn't stepped in, he would have ruined Robert's life, just like his mother did." Ethan let out a shaky breath. His eyes filled. Weeping, silent. I swallowed hard. "And the candle holder?" I asked. Another pause, shorter this time. "That?" she scoffed. "I told him not to touch my things. He fell. I simply adjusted the story." Adjusted. That single word echoed in my head. "So you lied to the police," I said evenly. "Oh, Elena," she replied with mock patience. "Men believe what they're told when a woman cries. You taught me that yourself, didn't you?" My blood ran cold. "You planned this," I said. She exhaled, annoyed. "I planned everything. That's how survival works." Linda mouthed, "That's enough." I leaned closer to the phone. "You hurt a child," I said quietly, "and you think you'll walk away?" Chelsea laughed again, louder now. "Of course I will. Robert already chose me, and soon you won't even be around to complain." The line went dead. No threats, no shouting,
just certainty. The room was silent. Ethan broke first. "She's going to kill you," he whispered, shaking. I wrapped my arms around him, tears finally spilling, weeping openly now. "I won't," I said, "because she just confessed." Linda held up her laptop. Every word was recorded. Timestamps, clear audio, unmistakable intent. For the first time since this nightmare began, hope breathed again. But I knew better to relax. Chelsea never lost without striking back. When my son finally heard the recording, his reaction would be far more dangerous than denial, and Chelsea would make her boldest move yet. I invited my son to my apartment the next morning. Robert arrived tense, shoulders stiff, jaw locked like he was walking into a courtroom instead of his mother's home. "I don't have much time," he said flatly. "Chelsea's not feeling well." Of course she wasn't. "Sit," I said, "please." He sighed and dropped onto the chair. Huh, the same sigh he used as a boy when he didn't want to hear the truth. I pressed play. Chelsea's voice filled the room. "One little smack?" I adjusted the story. Men believe what they're told when a woman cries. Robert's face changed. Confusion, anger, disbelief, all fighting for control. "That's not real," he snapped. "It's edited." "It's not," I said. "Forensics verified it." He laughed bitterly. "Ha! Wow, so now you're framing my wife?" Ethan stepped forward. His hands shook. "Dad, please," he said softly. "I was scared to tell you. She told me you'd choose her." Robert stood up so fast his chair fell. "Enough," he shouted. "I lost your mother. I won't lose another woman because of lies." Ethan flinched. That sound, sharp, broken, cut me deeper than anything Chelsea had done. "You're choosing her over your son," I said quietly. "No," Robert growled. "I'm choosing reality." Chelsea arrived minutes later. Perfect timing. She walked in pale, fragile, eyes red from tears. She leaned into Robert immediately. "She's poisoning you against me," she sobbed, weeping, theatrical. I tried so hard to love Ethan. Robert wrapped his arms around her. My grandson looked at me, eyes glassy. That was the moment he stopped believing in his father. "I'm done," Robert said coldly. "You'll never see us again." They left. The door closed. Silence screamed. Ethan collapsed onto the floor, shaking, tears pouring, weeping uncontrollably. I knelt beside him, holding him as he cried. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I should have protected you sooner." But deep inside, I knew this wasn't over, because Chelsea's confidence wasn't relief. It was anticipation. She thought she'd won. That night, Linda called. "She filed a restraining order," she said, "against you and Ethan." My jaw tightened. "She's setting the stage," I said, "for something bigger." Linda hesitated. "There's more," she added. "Chelsea withdrew a large sum of money from your son's account, and she accessed your property records." I stared at the dark window. The game had changed. Chelsea wasn't running anymore. She was preparing her final move. By morning, my apartment would become the scene of a crime, and Chelsea would finally reveal just how far she was willing to go. The sirens arrived just before sunrise. Red and blue lights spilled across my apartment walls like accusations. I stood in the doorway, wrapped in a coat, Ethan behind me, silent, exhausted, holding my sleeve like he used to when he was small. The fire. Chelsea had tried to make it look like an accident, an overturned heater, a staged electrical fault, accelerant hidden beneath the floorboards. Too clean, too planned. But she underestimated one thing: experience. The fire investigator paused when he saw the scorch pattern. He frowned, then called someone over. Voices lowered, photos taken. Linda caught my eye and nodded. "She messed up," she whispered. Hours later, Chelsea was arrested. Fraud, abuse, evidence tampering, attempted arson. When they brought her in handcuffs, she screamed. Not in fear, in rage. "This isn't over," she shouted. "He's mine.
He chose me. Robert arrived shortly after. He looked empty. When he saw Ethan, his face broke. A sigh, a sound full of regret. I was wrong, he whispered. God help me, I was wrong. Ethan didn't answer at first. Then he stepped forward. I didn't protect you, he said quietly, but I forgive you. Robert wept, weeping openly, no pride left to hide behind. Chelsea's trial moved fast. The recordings, the hidden camera footage, the financial trail, her past victims finally came forward. She pleaded guilty. 25 years. No parole. The courtroom was silent when the sentence was read. Chelsea didn't look at us, not once. Weeks later, life felt lighter. Not healed, but possible. Ethan returned to school, laughed again, slowly. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the city breathe, he leaned his head on my shoulder. You didn't give up on me, he said. I smiled softly, tears forming. Huh. Never, I replied. He laughed a little. Huh, guess that makes you my hero. I shook my head. No, I said. I was just your grandmother. And that was enough. Some battles aren't won with strength. They're won with truth, patience, and the courage to stand when everyone else sits. Chelsea thought she could erase us. Instead, she revealed herself, and in doing so, she gave my grandson his life back.